All right, let's dive into the fascinating world of senses. Today we're going to be focusing on touch and hearing
Oh, those are great ones.
using, some excerpts from this neuroscience textbook
Right.
that you were kind enough to share with me.
Awesome.
And I guess the mission here is to really try to understand how our senses work, from the very first detection of a sensation to how our brain actually makes sense of it all.
Yeah, like decoding the language of the outside world.
Exactly.
Making it something that our brain can actually, work with,
Yeah.
make decisions from.
So let's start with touch.
Okay.
We usually think of our skin as kind of a protective barrier,
Right.
but it's so much
Well,
more than that, right?
Absolutely. It's our interface with the world,
Okay.
It lets us feel everything, a gentle caress, the sharpness of a pinprick.
Right, right.
And that's all thanks to a network of sensory receptors
Okay.
that are embedded in the skin.
So these receptors are like tiny little sensors,
Yeah.
each one tuned to a specific type of touch.
That's a great way to put it.
It's like a team of specialists.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, for example, we've got Merkel discs,
Merkel discs. Okay.
and they're really good at picking up on like fine details,
What?
textures, things like that. Whereas Meissner corpuscles
Okay.
are super sensitive to light touch and changes in pressure.
Interesting.
Yeah, so imagine like a raindrop falling on your skin.
Right, the Meissner corpuscle.
Was Meissner corpuscles at work?
Wow. So it's like our skin has this whole team of detectives, right?
Yeah.
Like each with their own expertise, and they're all working together.
They are.
What about when you feel like a deep pressure or a vibration?
Yeah, so for those sensations,
Uh-huh.
we've got a couple of other receptors.
Okay.
We've got Ruffini endings,
Okay.
and they respond to skin stretching. So that helps us understand, like, the shape of an object or how our hand is positioned.
Oh, interesting.
And then we have Pacinian corpuscles.
Pacinian corpuscles. Okay.
And these are fascinating.
What are those like?
They're shaped like tiny little onions.
Really?
Yeah.
Like an onion?
Like a tiny onion. And they're incredibly sensitive to vibrations.
Oh.
Like your phone buzzing in your pocket.
Oh, wow. Okay, so it's not just about the type of touch, but also like the intensity of it.
Right.
And all of this information, all these signals are traveling from these receptors all the way to the brain.
Exactly. The signal travels through nerve fibers, up the spinal cord, to a relay station in the brain called the thalamus,
Okay.
and then finally to the somatosensory cortex where it's processed.
Wow, that's a long journey
It is.
for such a quick sensation.
And you know what's really interesting? The brain's map of our body isn't proportional to our actual body.
Wait, what do you mean?
Okay, think of it this way.
Okay.
Areas with like higher sensitivity, like our hands and face, take up a much larger portion of the brain's map.
Even though they're physically smaller.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's a distorted map, and it's called the homunculus.
Homunculus, okay.
And it kind of highlights how much brain power is dedicated to processing touch from those vital areas.
It's like our brain is saying, hey, pay attention to what the hands and face are feeling. They're really important.
Exactly. And it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
We use our hands to manipulate objects, explore the world.
Right.
Our faces are involved in crucial things like eating and communication.
Of course, of course.
It all makes sense.
It's so fascinating.
It is.
It really makes you appreciate those everyday sensations in a whole new way.
Absolutely.
But we can't forget about another really important sensation that's processed by the skin.
Right.
Pain.
Yes. Pain.
It's often unpleasant, but
Pain is absolutely essential for survival.
yeah.
It's like a warning signal telling us, hey, pull away from that harmful thing.
So it's like our body's alarm system.
Precisely.
Okay.
It protects us from further injury.
That makes sense.
And there's this really interesting theory called the gate theory of pain. Yeah.
And it suggests that other sensory inputs can actually modulate our experience of pain. You know how sometimes if you rub a sore area, it can feel a little better?
Yeah, I've definitely done that.
That's the gate theory in action.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
By introducing other tactile sensations, you're essentially closing the gate on the pain signals,
Yeah,
lessening their impact.
that's incredible. It's like our senses are constantly interacting and influencing each other.
They are.
Wow.
We've only just begun to scratch the surface
I can imagine.
of how our sense of touch really works.
Right, right.
It's amazing.
It really is a testament to the complexity and brilliance of the human body.
Well said.
Well, are you ready to move on and explore the world of sound?
I am. Let's tune in. Hearing is one of those senses we kind of just take for granted
It really is.
until it's gone, and then
Yeah, you don't know what you got till it's gone.
exactly. But when you really stop and think about it,
Right.
it's pretty amazing.
How our ears can pick up these invisible vibrations in the air and translate them into
Wow.
something meaningful.
Totally, like music,
Yeah.
conversations, all that.
Yeah, conversations.
So
Exactly.
how does that actually work?
Right.
How does sound actually travel through the ear?
Okay, so the ear
Ah.
is it's designed in three main parts.
Okay,
The outer ear,
okay,
the middle ear,
all right.
and the inner ear.
Gotcha, the outer ear.
Yeah, the outer ear. That part we all, can see. It's got that distinctive shape.
Right, the pinna.
The pinna, exactly.
I always wondered if that was just for looks.
Right.
But it's got to have a purpose, right?
It does. It acts like a funnel, collecting those sound waves and
Look.
channeling them into the ear canal.
Oh, so it's like directing the sound.
Exactly.
Okay, and then the sound waves reach the eardrum.
Yeah, so from the ear canal,
Uh-huh.
the sound waves hit the eardrum, which is this thin membrane that vibrates
Okay.
in response to the pressure changes of the sound waves.
So the eardrum is vibrating.
Vibrating, what happens next?
Here's where it gets really cool.
Okay.
Behind the eardrum, in the middle ear, are 3 tiny bones.
Oh, wow.
The smallest bones in your entire body.
No way.
They're called the hammer, the anvil, and the stirrup.
That's so cool, like a little
Oh.
like a little machine almost.
It is a tiny little machine,
Wow.
and they act like a lever system, amplifying the vibrations from the eardrum
Okay.
and transmitting them to the oval window, which is the entrance to the inner ear,
So it's amplifying it.
amplifying it.
Wow. That's incredible.
So the sound is amplified, it reaches the inner ear,
Right.
and this is where the real magic happens.
Oh, okay.
It houses the cochlea,
The cochlea.
which is a spiral-shaped, fluid-filled structure.
Okay.
When the oval window vibrates,
Uh-huh.
it creates waves in this fluid.
Okay.
And lining the cochlea are these super sensitive hair cells.
Hair cells.
Hair cells.
Like little hairs.
Little tiny hair.
Yeah.
Our ability to hear depends on tiny hairs.
It does, and they get stimulated by these
That
waves.
just seems so fragile.
I know they are delicate,
Wow.
but they're remarkable.
Okay.
They convert those mechanical vibrations of the fluid
Right.
into electrical signals that the brain can understand.
Oh, wow. So it's converting it from physical vibration to an electrical signal.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
The location of the hair cells along the cochlea determines the frequency or pitch
Okay.
of the sound that we perceive.
So if hair cells near the beginning of the cochlea are activated, we hear high-pitched sounds.
Yeah, exactly.
And then further along, lower pitches.
Lower pitches, you got it.
Wow. That's wild. It's like a keyboard almost.
It is like a piano keyboard.
Yeah, like a piano keyboard.
Different keys, different frequency.
That's a great analogy.
And then the number of hair cells activated determines the loudness
Okay.
or the amplitude of the sound.
So the cochlea is breaking down the sound
It's
into its component frequencies and intensities. So how does that information then get from the ear to the brain?
All right, so those electrical signals generated by the hair cells are picked up by the auditory nerve, which carries them on this incredible journey through various parts of the brain.
Wow.
It's like a relay race,
Okay.
with the signal being passed from one station to the next.
Gotcha.
Ultimately, the signal reaches the auditory cortex,
Auditory cortex.
which is located in the temporal lobe of the brain.
And that's where we finally become aware of the sound.
That's it. The auditory cortex is where all that raw data gets processed and interpreted,
Oh.
allowing us to recognize sounds, understand speech,
Right.
appreciate music.
It's mind-boggling how our brain can make sense of all those signals
A
coming from our ears.
lot of information.
So how about our ability to locate sounds? How do we know where a sound is coming from?
That is another amazing feat of auditory processing.
It is.
It is.
I never even thought about that.
Yeah, and having 2 ears is key. The brain compares the timing and intensity of the sound reaching each ear.
Okay.
So if a sound reaches your right ear a split second before your left ear, your brain knows the sound is coming from the right.
So it's like our ears are giving our brains a stereo view of the world.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
amazing, right?
Yeah, that's really cool.
And all of this highlights how intricate and complex our sense of hearing is.
It really does.
But unfortunately, things can go wrong.
Right, like hearing loss.
Hearing loss, yeah.
Tinnitus.
Yeah.
Damage to those delicate structures in the ear can disrupt this whole process.
Absolutely.
Leading to hearing loss.
Yeah.
Whether it's from aging or...
Aging, loud noise exposure, or other factors.
Right. Right.
And tinnitus, that ringing or buzzing sound that
Yeah.
some people experience,
Yeah.
can be incredibly debilitating.
It's like a phantom sound, right?
It is. It's like a phantom sound.
Like the brain perceives a sound that
Yeah.
isn't really there.
Exactly. It's not actually there.
And it can be caused by a lot of things.
Yeah, lots of different things.
And I guess there's no one-size-fits-all cure. Huh.
Unfortunately not.
So treatment is really focused on managing the symptoms.
Yeah, managing those symptoms.
That's really tough.
It is.
It makes you appreciate how precious our hearing is.
Absolutely.
Speaking of amazing things the brain does,
Yeah.
I was reading about this concept of sparse coding
Oh, yeah.
in the auditory cortex.
Sparse coding, that's a good one.
Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, so as those auditory signals
Okay.
travel from the ear to the brain,
Uh-huh.
they go through a sort of filtering and refining process.
Okay.
By the time they reach the auditory cortex,
Yeah.
only a small subset of neurons actually respond to any given sound.
Wait, so not all the neurons in the auditory cortex are firing all the time?
That's right. It's a very efficient system.
Oh, wow.
Only the most relevant neurons are activated for each specific sound.
So it's like,
It's like a library?
it is like a library where only a few lights turn on
Exactly.
to illuminate the specific book you need.
That's a great way to put it.
It's focused, efficient.
Focused, efficient, yeah.
So it's like the brain is optimizing its resources
Exactly.
to create the most precise representation of the sound.
That's right.
But how does the brain know which neurons to activate?
That is the fascinating part.
Yeah.
This selectivity of neurons develops through learning and experience.
Oh, interesting.
As we encounter new sounds, our brain refines its neural representations, creating a unique auditory fingerprint for each sound.
It's like our brains are constantly learning, adapting,
Absolutely.
creating this personalized library of sounds.
That's a great way to put it, a personalized library.
That's so cool.
It is.
So we've been talking about touch and hearing separately, but I imagine they're not working in isolation, right?
You are absolutely right.
Yeah.
All of our senses are constantly working together, influencing each other, and shaping our perception of the world.
Like, for example, taste and smell.
Yeah, taste and smell.
They're so intertwined that it's hard to imagine one without the other.
Absolutely.
So we talk about them like they're separate,
Yeah.
but they really do work together.
They do.
So walk me through that.
Okay, so our tongue has taste receptors that can detect, like, those basic tastes: sweet, sour, salty, bitter, and umami.
Right, right.
But the richness and complexity of flavor...
Yeah, like when you're really enjoying something.
Exactly. That comes from the combination of taste and smell.
Okay, so when we smell food, those aroma molecules travel up our nose,
Yeah,
and they activate olfactory receptors,
they do.
and that sends signals to the brain.
Yep.
And that olfactory information gets integrated with the taste signals.
That's exactly what happens.
Wow.
And it happens in a part of the brain called the orbitofrontal cortex.
Orbitofrontal cortex.
It plays a key role in sensory perception
Okay.
and also in decision-making and emotional responses.
So that's why food is more than just fuel, right?
Exactly. It can evoke emotion,
It can evoke, yeah.
memories,
Oh, yeah.
cultural associations,
Totally.
and the orbitofrontal cortex's connection to the amygdala,
Okay.
which is the brain region involved in processing emotions,
Right.
explains why our food preferences are so deeply intertwined with our experiences,
Right.
our memories.
So, like, if I have a bad experience with a certain food,
Uh-huh.
let's say I get food poisoning,
Okay. Yeah.
that can actually change how I perceive the taste
It can.
and
Yeah.
the smell of that food.
Absolutely.
It's like a defense mechanism.
It is. That negative experience creates a strong emotional association with that food, leading to an aversion.
Like danger. Avoid this at all costs.
Exactly. Danger,
Yeah.
stay away.
Wow, that's incredible.
It is.
How interconnected our senses are and how they work together
Yeah.
to create this this rich tapestry of experiences.
It really is a tapestry, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
With all the different threads.
Well, before we wrap up, I want to circle back to something you mentioned earlier about our brains constantly adapting
Yes.
and learning.
Learning, constantly learning.
What are the implications of that when it comes to our senses?
That is a great question.
Thanks.
The brain's plasticity, its ability to change and adapt,
Right.
is key to how we learn and refine our sensory perceptions
Okay.
throughout our lives.
Interesting.
For example, musicians who practice regularly,
Yeah.
they actually show changes in their auditory cortex,
Wow, really?
reflecting their enhanced ability to process musical sounds.
So it's not just about passive reception.
No, it's not passive at all.
Our brains are actively shaping our sensory experiences
Yes, they are.
based on what we're exposed to and
Yeah,
what we learn.
absolutely.
That's really cool.
I know, right? And this has implications for how we approach things like sensory rehabilitation
Oh, interesting.
or even just understanding individual differences in perception.
Right.
No two people experience the world in exactly the same way.
Right.
Our unique experiences shape the way our brains process that sensory information.
That's a profound thought.
It is, isn't it?
It makes you wonder about the subjective nature of reality,
Yeah.
how each of us is constructing our own, like, unique sensory world.
Yeah, it really is, you know? We each have this unique sensory fingerprint
No.
shaped by our, well, our genes, our experiences, even our culture.
That's wild. Makes you wonder, like, are we even living in the same reality?
Right. It's a question, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But knowing how adaptable and intricate our senses are,
Yeah.
it really makes you think about the possibilities.
Yeah, the applications.
Yeah, the applications. Think
They-
about healthcare.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Like a deeper understanding of how we perceive pain
Right.
could lead to way more effective pain management strategies.
Especially for people with chronic pain.
Especially for chronic pain. Yeah, that would be huge.
Absolutely. That would be a game changer.
It would be a game changer.
What about technology?
Ooh, technology.
Could we create, like, even more immersive sensory experiences?
Oh, absolutely. I think we could see advancements in virtual reality
Oh,
that
yeah.
feel even more realistic,
Right, right.
engaging multiple senses
Totally.
to create truly immersive experiences.
Yeah, or even like assistive devices for people with impairments.
Exactly. Exactly.
That'd be amazing.
It would be amazing.
It's exciting to think about the potential there.
It is exciting.
And it all starts with this curiosity, this desire to understand these amazing capabilities of our bodies.
It really does. Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah.
The more we understand about our senses,
Uh-huh.
the better equipped we are, to address challenges, develop new technologies,
Right.
and just appreciate the incredible complexity of the human experience.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well said, well said.
Thank you.
Well, to our listener, as we wrap up this deep dive into touch and hearing, we hope you're leaving with a renewed sense of wonder
That's the goal.
about these incredible senses.
Absolutely.
They're not just passive receivers of information.
Right.
They're active interpreters, shaping our reality,
Shaping our reality.
connecting us to the world in these really profound ways.
They are so profound.
So keep exploring,
Keep exploring.
keep questioning, and keep diving deep into the wonders of the human body.
And remember, every sensation, every sound is like a little piece of
Yeah.
the symphony of our senses.
I like that.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you.